Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to illegal now but normal in the 1960s. I think I've done a reaction to this video, but in the 1970s or the 1980s, it was a few weeks ago. But I find this stuff pretty interesting to see because it just shows how much sort of culture's changed, the worlds have changed, and opinions have changed along with other things. And yeah, things that in this video, like it says, used to be normal and now maybe seen as crazy things that people could do. Yeah, we're gonna see what will be in this video. But yeah, if you're from this era, I guess you can also let your sort of experiences known and put it in the comments and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, we're going to check this out and see some of these things that are now illegal.
In the late 1960s, life was pretty much unregulated. The rules were just different back then, and we wouldn't have it any other way. But the things that seemed completely normal have over time become outlawed. So let's take a look back at all the things we did back in 1968 that are now illegal.
Here we go.
Back in 1968, turning 18 meant you could vote, get drafted, and in most states, walk into a bar and order a drink.
Okay, so this doesn't relate to the UK, but I guess, was the drinking age 18 in the 60s?
Certainly wasn't unusual
Or the legal drinking age?
see high school seniors celebrating their birthday with a legal beer. In some places, even younger teens could drink beer or wine legally, while hard liquor required you to be 21. Drunk driving laws weren't strictly enforced, and as long as you could walk a straight line, most officers let you off with a warning. It wasn't until the 1980s that the legal age was raised to 21, mostly because the federal government threatened to cut highway funding for states that didn't comply. If you grew up in the 1960s or 1970s...
So the legal drinking age came from highways threatening to not pay, or threatening to not build, I guess, highways within states. Is that pretty much where the legal drinking age increase came from? That's a pretty interesting backstory.
You probably rode in the back of a pickup truck at least once. Whether you were driving home from a baseball game, or just cruising down the highway with the wind in your face, it was a part of normal life. No one worried about seatbelts, so the truck bed was often full of kids. Today, most states have banned the practice, especially at speeds over 25 miles per hour. But for those who remember, it was just another great thing to love about the 1960s.
Yeah, I can't lie. I feel like this would be quite fun as a kid, just to sit in the back. As long as your parents aren't going like 60 miles per hour, I feel like I can see the fun in that, to be honest. Also the issues as well.
It might sound unbelievable now, but in 1968, it wasn't strange for a high school student to bring a rifle to school.
What?
In more rural areas, hunting was a way of
God.
life, and plenty of teenagers kept shotguns in their trucks so they could go straight to the woods.
When he says teenagers, does he mean like people over 18? Or does he just mean like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, just throughout all of the teen years? Although 12 isn't a teen, is it? 13. You can't be 12 teen, can you?
After class. Some schools even had rifle
I still remember becoming a teenager. God damn it. That's a good 10 years back, 10 and a half years back now. Because, I mean, 13, I'm 23 now.
clubs, where students practice marksmanship under a teacher's supervision. A gun rack in a truck window wasn't a reason to panic. SWAT teams were never called, and teachers didn't think twice about it. Times have certainly changed, but back then, it was just another part of growing up.
I assume this kid isn't bringing this gun to school. He's just holding it in school. Maybe someone's brought it in. I mean, I have so many questions.
Recollection Road is proud to partner with Legacy Box. If you've considered preserving your family's memories, then watch until the end of this video to see how Legacy Box can help you do it. In 1968, chemistry...
What, you get like chemistry... I don't know, chemistry boxes with like all chemicals and stuff.
sets weren't just educational, they were also adventurous. Kids could mix real chemicals, creating explosions, toxic fumes, and even small fires right in their bedrooms. Many sets included potassium nitrate for making gunpowder, and even uranium ore for testing radiation.
Uranium?
Mercury was also a common ingredient, and plenty of kids played with the liquid metal, rolling it around in their hands.
Whoa. Okay, that's mad. I mean, I guess we have to go through these periods of time to do this to then realize it's not safe, right? Because if this didn't happen then, maybe this would have been happening when I was growing up. So I'm thankful this wasn't when I was growing up, because That sounds crazy.
without a second thought. Parents saw these kits as a way to inspire future scientists, but over time, the risk of burns or poisoning became too great, so the dangerous chemicals were removed completely, and with that, their popularity faded.
It's an idea that counts.
Fireworks today are tame compared to what kids had in the 1960s. Cherry bombs, M80s,
Cherry bombs.
and silver salutes were basically mini explosives that could take out a mailbox or blow a hole in a trash can. It wasn't just about
take off a
lighting them,
hand,
it was about
I
the
guess.
challenge of getting away before the blast. Some kids even used them for fishing, tossing them in the water to stun fish. Parents warned about losing fingers, but that didn't stop kids from lighting another fuse. Eventually, the government banned these high-powered fireworks, but anyone who grew up with them remembers the sheer thrill and occasional terror of setting them off.
Mad.
Believe it or not, there was a time when cracking open a beer while driving wasn't illegal in many states. Some people kept a cooler in the passenger seat for long road trips, and drive-through liquor stores were a common sight. Police didn't pull drivers over unless they were obviously drunk, and as long as you could handle your vehicle, having an open container wasn't a big deal. It wasn't until the 1980s that attitudes changed. Today, even
Wow.
holding a beer behind the wheel will get you in serious trouble.
Good.
But back then,
I can't think of anything worse than like drink driving when it comes to people on the road, man. I hate people who drink drive.
it wasn't unusual. Kids in the 60s and 70s had some wild toys, and one of the strangest was Whammo's super elastic bubble plastic. It came in a tube, and you'd squeeze out a blob, stick it on a straw, and blow it into a big, colorful plastic balloon. The problem,
Looks fun.
the stuff was packed with toxic fumes,
Oh.
and you could feel it the second you opened the tube. Some kids would get lightheaded from playing with it. Although it was fun, most of us knew it probably wasn't safe. So eventually it disappeared from store shelves. But if you ever played with it, you'll never forget that strong chemical smell.
What the fuck? Jeez.
Before the modern movie rating system, films in 1968 had far fewer restrictions on content, and what audiences saw often depended on the theater's discretion. Hollywood still followed the remnants of the old Hays Code, but by the late 1960s, filmmakers were pushing boundaries with violence, language, and adult themes. Movies like Bonnie and Clyde and The Wild Bunch shocked viewers with their graphic shootouts, while Rosemary's Baby delivered psychological horror that would have been unthinkable a decade earlier. Without clear ratings, parents had no real way of knowing if a film was suitable for kids, and many young audiences ended up watching movies that would easily be rated R today.
Damn.
Drop-side cribs were once a must-have for parents. The design let one side slide down, making it easy to pick up a sleeping baby without waking them. For decades, these cribs were standard in homes, hospitals, and daycare centers. But over time, it became clear they weren't as safe as people thought. The sliding mechanism could fail, leading to dangerous gaps where babies got trapped. After multiple tragic accidents, they were finally banned in 2011.
Oh, so that's a recent ban. That's quite sad, though. They obviously had some pretty horrifying stories from it.
If you were a kid in the 60s, you probably remember mosquito trucks rolling through your neighborhoods.
I think you mentioned it. I've seen this mentioned before, and people just run through them, and then the fumes in them was just like unbelievably unbelievably bad.
Spraying thick
There you
clouds
go.
of DDT. And if you were like
DDT.
most kids, you didn't run away. You ran into the fog, laughing and playing as it filled the air. No one thought about the long-term effects back then, even though the smell alone should have been a warning. It wasn't until scientists linked DDT to cancer that it was
Wow.
finally banned. Today, the idea of kids chasing pesticide trucks seems crazy, but
Yeah.
back then, it was just another summer night.
Yeah, I guess those people
There was
Got-
something special
had the results of what they did after, which is quite sad as well.
about getting a cold soda from a vending machine in the 1960s. The bottles were made of thick glass, and you had to use the built-in opener to pop the cap. If you returned the empty, you got a deposit back, something that encouraged kids to collect bottles to make a little spending money. But glass breaks, and plenty of people learn that the hard way when pulling a heavy glass bottle from the vending machine, making it a liability for soda companies. Over time, vending machines switched completely over to plastic bottles and aluminum cans for safety's
It's probably not as good for the environment as the glass, but I guess when it comes to safety, it makes sense.
sake. But the switch also
Glass bottles are cool though. I feel like they feel a lot more like maybe a lot. They feel a lot more like, I don't know, just mature is not the right word, but you just feel like it feels higher class, you know, drinking from a glass bottle as opposed to a plastic bottle.
Save them money because
Or a
plastic
can.
was cheaper to recycle and manufacture.
Oh, there you go.
Before bright orange tips and neon-colored plastic, toy guns looked real, sometimes too real. Cap guns popped like real gunfire, so kids loved to play cops and robbers or cowboys and Indians in the street, running around with guns that today would send a SWAT team rushing in. But back then, no one batted an eye, and police rarely overreacted. But as times changed and real-life incidents blurred the lines between toys and weapons, realistic toys were heavily restricted. Today, it's hard to imagine a kid casually carrying one into a store, but in the 1960s, it was just another afternoon of play.
Damn.
Recollection
Oh,
Road
that's it.
loves to
Oh, I could watch these videos for ages. I love seeing these like sort of throwbacks to how different things were. And cigarette machines everywhere that nobody questioned the age of the customer. Any 14-year-old boy could buy a pack without anyone thinking twice about it. Riding in the back of a pickup was a great treat for me when I was a kid. That's what I mean. I feel like that sort of thing would have been quite fun. I can see the dangers of it, but yeah, I can see how that would have been quite fun to be doing that sort of thing. Plus, I feel like in like some rural areas in the US, still they would do this kind of stuff. Like they just don't care. 1968 was a pivotal year for me. I got out of the service, entered the police academy, and got married. Still the same wife. So I really enjoy this trip back in time. Yeah, this stuff must be such a big throwback for a lot of people that grew up in these eras and stuff. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. And yeah, until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.